Kemi Badenoch's recent comments signal a significant shift in the political narrative. She actually acknowledged Nigel Farage and Reform as a major threat to the Conservatives. She inadvertently legitimised them as the most serious contender for the next election. But what's striking is her decision to forego an opportunity to criticise Starmer or Labour, traditionally the Conservatives' primary rival. Let's have a listen to what she said.
You haven't given much sense of a solution. You're quite upfront about that, but isn't this an issue? And also, isn't it all just a bit joyless, which in political terms is a problem because it's a contrast to Nigel Farage?
So I think that this is a great question, and I'm speaking based on where the Conservative Party is. We have just suffered our greatest ever defeat, ever, in hundreds of years. I don't think the public will start trusting us if I turn up looking like I'm having a great time and everything is fantastic. I want them to know that we understand why they asked for change, why they voted pretty much every party they could do in order to kick us out. So I'm doing a serious job here. I'm talking about new leadership, and I want them to know that things are different and we are going to be earning their trust. But I did say some positive things. I talked about the next generation. Intergenerational unfairness is something that I really care about. We've got to give young people hope and optimism. We've got to give them sunlit uplands. And I will do that. Nigel Farage has been knocking around for 20 plus years. He's been leading all sorts of different parties. So he's had a head start. I've been leading the Conservative Party for 10 weeks. Let's see where we are in a few months, in a few years.
So Badenoch's recent focus on Farage and Reform suggests that the Conservatives now recognise the recent surge in Reform Party's popularity across the board, particularly on key issues like immigration and Brexit. She concedes the fact that a significant share of Conservatives' voter base has now moved to Reform. Kemi's comments come on the back of recent data showing Reform rising in the polls. A recent poll by Find Out Now even puts the Conservatives in third place and Reform and Labour joint first place. With Reform popularity growing and Labour's sinking, Reform are all but guaranteed to be first place in the next round of polls. And it's not only voters defecting to Reform, MPs, councillors and Tory ministers are jumping over to Reform. Scottish Conservative leader Russell Finlay is bracing himself for even more defections to Reform in the coming weeks. So by framing Farage as a rival, Badenoch has effectively positioned Reform as the party to beat, almost elevating Farage to the role of unofficial opposition leader on the right. This move might reflect a deeper fear within the Conservative Party that they could lose their traditional voter base to Reform. It's a remarkable moment, signalling the weakening of the two-party dominance in the UK. The Tories' strategy might now have to shift not just towards reclaiming their voters, but also addressing the broader existential threat posed by Farage and his party's populist rhetoric. Let me know in the comments what you think this means for the Conservatives. Will they be able to regain their footing? Or is this an admission of their failure to address the issues that have driven voters towards Reform?